If you're just joining us, I was talking about a court case that is being launched. An organization called the Maltina Institute for Language and Literacy was told by the National Lotteries Board that it would get a grant allocation of 20 million rand. This was in June 2011. The grant allocation was subsequently withdrawn, and the National Lotteries Board said that the current budget constraints of the National Lotteries Distribution Trust Fund didn't allow for the funding of projects of this magnitude. So the Maltina Institute for Language and Literacy is going to the North Gauteng High Court saying we want a review and we want this decision set aside. But on what grounds? Let's get Jac Marais, who's a partner at Adams & Adams, representing the Maltina Institute for Language and Literacy, or acting on behalf of them, joining us on the line. Jac, welcome to you, and thanks very much for your time. What are your grounds for a review?
Hi, David, and thank you for the opportunity. Yes, the grounds for review in this matter really are based on a simple legal proposition, and that is that the National Lotteries Board are basically a creature of statute, and they are limited in their powers by the National Lotteries Act. And in terms of that act, the Lotteries Board cannot revoke a decision to grant funds after they've gone through the process to grant those funds. And the Act basically only gives the minister the power to revoke a decision to allocate a grant, and then only in very limited instances, none of which really apply in this case. So basically the main ground and the main contention on behalf of our clients is that the National Lotteries Board, in revoking this decision, acted outside its authority in terms of the Act.
And it's only the minister who can withdraw a grant such as this, and if they say, well, we don't have the money, we made a mistake, that's not a ground for withdrawing the grant, is it, Jac?
Well, David, it's an interesting question because if one puts it into perspective, the National Lotteries Board in its current financial statements indicate that they've got about a surplus of about 2 billion rand available. And just as recent as in 2011, the Supreme Court of Appeal held that the National Lotteries Board actually failed in its mandate, as it has not managed to distribute all the funds that it receives in a year. In 2011, for example, we know that the Lotteries Board had about 6 billion rand available that was not distributed. So although that could possibly be a ground to refuse funding, which one would expect to be a reason for refusal, it can never be a ground to revoke a decision to grant funds. Of course, within the context of knowing that the funds or the grant was given in June and then in August, sought to be revoked on the basis of limitation of funds.
Yes.
So it's highly unlikely from where we are and from what we have available to us at the moment that funds were not available to distribute.
Well, what is interesting is it'll compel the National Lotteries Board to come forward and show what's in the bank, what is available. I think that this issue of how much money is available is the big bone of contention, and I've read Judge Jac Marias' finding in the Supreme Court of Appeals, where he writes about this 6 billion. I did speak to Session Naidoo from the National Lotteries Board. He said, yes, but that was a number of years ago. Since then, they have actually been handing out the money, and this amount of 2 billion is available. I think one of the big problems is that is available over all these various distribution trust funds, and of which the distributing agency, not the distribution trust fund, but the distribution agencies, and you're relying on Arts, Culture and National Heritage for the 20 million. So I think there are 4 agencies, aren't there, distributing agencies?
That's right. David, I mean, the point being that one would have expected that when the Lotteries Board allocated in June,
yes,
they would have had a look at what finances they have available. And it's highly unlikely from where we are sitting that the position between June and August could have changed so much that the 20 million rand that was obviously available in June became unavailable in August. So we believe that that ground in itself would not hold water. And then, of course, as I've said initially, the Lotteries Board does not have that authority to withdraw funds as they've tried to do in this case.
Well, isn't that just emphasizing once again what Judge Marias said, that the National Lotteries Board doesn't appear to understand its mandate? From the way I read that judgment, it seemed he was saying to the National Lotteries Board, you don't know what you're doing.
Well, it came about, it was very close to that. And of course, the law must take its course in this matter. We've launched review proceedings. But the real tragedy is that these funds are not available at this stage to our clients. And of course, there are deserving beneficiaries of these funds who are not receiving the benefit thereof at this stage.
At what stage are you with the legal proceedings, Jac? You're not as far as a court date yet, are you?
No, absolutely not. We only launched the review proceedings earlier this week.
Okay.
But luckily, review proceedings are generally expedient, and we hope to have a result in the matter, within a few months. Of course, there's nothing that prevents the Lotteries Board from at any stage coming to our clients and saying that, we recognize that you've got a case in this matter and that we were wrong. And to disregard the decision that we're trying to set aside, and to merely pay out the funds. That would be the ideal outcome for our clients and for the beneficiaries.
Certainly, and you would have to advise your client to take it. There's a part of me that hopes they don't do this and that they are compelled at some stage to show how much is in the bank, so we can actually get that side of things resolved. But I do appreciate if they settle, your client will go for it. Jac, we'll stay in touch with you about that review application. Jac Marais, their partner at Adams.
You're listening to David O'Sullivan on Talk Radio 702, your #1 news and talk station. Email David on david@702.co.za.
To the issue, this confusing issue, and I wonder just how murky this issue is. We've had the suspension of a